This morning, but the more waves the president makes, the more we wonder if, at least in part, he's hoping to take back the news cycle from, for example, his sex scandal involving porn star Stormy Daniels. Stormy and her lawyer set a deadline of noon today to respond to her offer that she'd give back the $130,000 in hush money that she says she was paid in exchange for the freedom to talk about her alleged sexual relationship with the president. As a matter of fact, just an hour before Trump fired Tillerson on Twitter, Stormy Daniels' lawyers issued this warning to the White House.
Have you heard from them?
Crickets.
Nothing?
Nothing.
So what happens if that deadline passes?
Well, if the deadline passes, then the offer is going to be automatically withdrawn, and we're going to gear up, and we're going to proceed in a deliberate, measured, smart, aggressive manner as it relates to this case. And we're going to get into a stage that's called discovery, and that's going to involve the issuance of subpoenas.
I don't know what you call it when the lawyer for the porn star sounds more reasonable than the president of the United States. We'll work on that. But, of course, Donald Trump missed that deadline. Stormy's lawyer tweeting today, quote, "The president and Mr. Cohen have purposely ignored our settlement offer, thus doubling down on their efforts to muzzle Ms. Clifford and prevent her from telling the American people what happened. Time to buckle up." But this isn't even the only White House scandal of the day. Could the president also be hoping to take attention away from this, that his personal assistant, John McEntee, was fired this morning, escorted from the premises, not even allowed to go back for his jacket on the way out? NBC reporting that McEntee is under investigation by the Secret Service for serious financial crimes. Of course, they've already found a place for him on the Trump re-election campaign. Joining us at the table, Nick Confessori, New York reporter, Kimberly Atkins, Boston Herald chief Washington reporter, and Zerlina Maxwell, former Clinton campaign advisor, now director of progressive programming. And I'm so happy to say this. Where are you?
I'm here.
MSNBC analyst. Yeah. You're already here. We already.
Well, no, we did a cute video because we frequently get confused for each other because our hair is similar, and so we established that.
I wasn't confused. I'm blind.
But in the peripheral vision, our hair is similar. But it's
welcome. We're so lucky to have you. We're so lucky to have you. Talk about this idea, though, because you and I spend a lot of time on that program on Morning Joe, and Joe calls it as he sees them, and I agree with his assessment.
I don't.
No?
Here's why. I'm surprised that Tillerson lasted this long. Yeah. How could he not have fired this guy?
Well, Joe made that assessment
5 or 6 months ago. No, exactly. But, like, he has been on the outs for all this time. And, in fact, it is true. He doesn't agree with the president on critical foreign policy issues. Now, maybe he fired him in a fit or got tired of him for some reason we haven't seen yet. But the president should have somebody who reflects their views on foreign policy and should not have a Secretary of State who thinks he's an idiot.
And we know that he thinks he's an idiot. But Kimberly Atkins, I mean, weigh in on the. Of course, a president should have someone who's a philosophical match. It wasn't clear, really, I don't think, during the transition what Donald Trump's national security philosophy was. But the conduct, the manner with which he unceremoniously dumped him on Twitter, and Phil Rucker's reporting that he wanted to do it while Tillerson was on an airplane. That's just sadistic.
Absolutely. I mean, look, all day long getting reaction to this. I haven't come across many people who said, you know, Rex Tillerson was such a great Secretary of State. It's so sad to see him go. But there's almost uniformly, whether they agree with this or not, a sense that this was really a really demoralizing and an embarrassing way to fire someone, and it's sending a message to people throughout the administration. If you are not on board with President Trump, if you right now are somebody whose job it is, who finds themselves giving Trump the opposite view or urging him to take caution or restraint or something like that, you should get your resume ready, because you're probably not long for this administration. Donald Trump wants people who are on board, who are backing him up. He doesn't want anybody who is not on the same page. That's the first thing he said about Mike Pompeo today.
And Jeremy Bash, we've reported, and we talked about it in the last block, that H.R. McMaster is on that list of people that may not be long for, I guess this is Donald Trump's White House 3.0. But what do you make of the challenges for recruiting in, one, the kind of people that can pass the now higher hurdles, or which I think are just the normal hurdles for being cleared by the FBI for the highest levels of security, and the difficulty of bringing people into a situation where we have multiple news accounts that the president likes to ask people about their conversations with Mueller. He talks about things that could require people to hire defense attorneys. This is not an attractive place to go to work.
That's right. I think we may be at peak talent here for the Trump administration. And I think once some individuals leave, like Secretary Tillerson, despite the disagreements that the president may have had with him on foreign policy, you're not going to get someone, obviously you're going to have Pompeo in that role, but you're not going to get someone to backfill all these positions, including the National Security Advisor, who are at that caliber that really a president of the United States needs to advise on the most complex national security decisions out there. I just want to go back to this point about the manner in which Tillerson was fired. I think we're talking about it's mean, it's embarrassing. It's actually just weak. It's like gutless. It's a wimp. Only a wimp does that. Someone who doesn't want to face the consequences of telling someone directly, hey, this ain't working out, I'm going to make a change. And I just want to say that our president is transmitting absolute weakness to everybody around the world. And for someone who, thinks of himself as a strong man, he's sending exactly the wrong message.
Can I follow up with you then, Jeremy, about the, some strong man escorted the president's body man. This is a job sort of famously depicted in Aaron Sorkin's West Wing. George W. Bush was very close to all the people who held the title of body man. This was Donald Trump's body man. Something so egregious that he couldn't go back and pick up his jacket on the way out. He was escorted off the White House grounds today. What kind of transgression are we talking about for that kind of treatment?
Well, it could be anything, and some people today have been discussing the fact that he may have disclosed information, not necessarily classified information, but information about the inner workings of the White House, and that caught the attention of the Secret Service, and that way have led to people saying that the president was going to ban the use of personal phones in the West Wing and quote-unquote leaks. We don't know exactly yet, Nicole, but I think it's clear that individuals who have worked at this White House were not properly vetted. His team came in a chaotic environment. There was not the appropriate vetting. People did not have the right credentials and could not get the right credentials. That's why Jared had his security clearance bumped down to the same security clearance that the people who serve Navy bean soup in the White House mess have. It's why individuals had to be fired and let go. It shows that there is a major crisis engulfing this West Wing in terms of the credentials and capabilities of some of the staff there.
And Zerlina, he's off-ramping him to the campaign. When I went to Bush's re-election campaign in '03, and I'm a model of nothing other than what was normal then, I was talking to Bob Mueller about being his communications director, or the president about going to be the campaign communications director. Obviously, in both scenarios, I had to pass the highest levels of integrity. And I had to vet out for both jobs. Do they see the campaign as sort of a place for rogues?
Yes, but that's also really odd because on a campaign you also have to pass a vet. And so I think that they clearly don't have a process for vetting like we did on the Hillary campaign or previous campaigns like yours. But I also think that he's clearly at a point where he's not governing for everyone. He's governing for his base. You saw him earlier today, looking at models for the wall he's going to build and saying, well, we're not going with the models that people can climb over with equipment. We're going with the other models where people can't climb over it. I mean, all of it is pretty ridiculous, but it's clear that he is sending a signal to his base that he's still going to hold close to his priorities that he ran on, and he's stopped any pretense that he's governing for everyone. He's surrounding himself with essentially loyal sycophants who will not challenge him on policy positions. But I think that we're all in a precarious position in this moment, because if you don't have somebody to push back against the president who wants to do some sort of military action in North Korea or in any other place, if you don't have, a team of rivals, as Obama and Lincoln famously had, right? And that was a conversation when Obama was coming into the White House. People who have a variety of opinions, and you have the president weigh in and weigh all of the different points of view and come to a decision. This president does not want to weigh differing opinions. Let
me just dissent a little bit. I mean, not only does he not have a team of rivals, he doesn't really have a team of people that aren't suspected of committing felonies.
Yeah, I mean, look, who else is at the campaign? First of all, there's Brad Parscale and Katrina Pearson, and Parscale is dinged up in the Russia investigation. But, half the cabinet or a third of the cabinet and the senior staff have been bought before Mueller or people from the House and Senate Intel committees. This entire House or this entire administration is in a crisis of investigation. So, as we said earlier, who can they find to take these jobs and come inside, provide some balance?